Hey, what's going on? It's Stranger here and welcome to another music production video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing part 2 of editing the Amen break. If you haven't seen the previous Amen break video, make sure you check the link below where we walked you through the basics of using an Amen break, how to cut it in Ableton, and changing basic parameters like pitch and whatnot. In today's video, we're going to be taking those steps and going a little more advanced. So let's jump right into it. So I have the project that we worked on in the last video. And the first parameter we're going to talk about is adjusting the decay and sustain. And using these two parameters, which is found on the drum rack here, once you've cut up your Amen, you have decay and sustain. These adjust the amplitude envelope of your drum hits. So simply the reason why I use these two parameters is it allows you to have a more tighter and cleaner drum break. Each hit is a little more defined when you adjust the sustain and decay. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about by adjusting the sustain all the way down to infinity. Notice the hits are now more defined. Now if you adjust the decay, the shorter the decay, the tighter the Amen sound. You kind of get like a mini Amen. And you might have heard this trick in many tracks out there. Now, depending on your track, you gotta fine tune and find a setting that works right for your track. You might just want to be a little more subtle, just tighten it up, but not make it too extreme. So this is all the way up. So this is the regular, how the Amen sounds. And then you can adjust the sustain. You can leave it all the way to negative, or you can bring it up a bit. Nice. So we're getting a really more defined, tight Amen sound. And this kind of trick is used in a lot of modern jungle where you want to clean up the Amen, make things sound tighter. Now another advanced step I like to use is adding compression to your Amen break. So I'm just going to go over to the audio effects here and then go over to compressor and drag it over to the Amen break. I'm just going to collapse the effects so you guys can see the compressor. So the first parameter I like to adjust for the compressor is the threshold, which is this dial here. And pretty much you want to adjust the threshold so that the peaks of the Amen is over that threshold. And that's around -18 here. And what I mean by peaks is those tips or attacks, those percussive ka or the ba of your kicks and snares, right? And also the tips of your hi-hats. So around -18 makes sense. So anything over -18 gets compressed. Then the next parameter is the ratio, and that's how much that signal over the threshold gets compressed. If it's at 1:1, then that means nothing gets compressed. If it's at 2:1, then anything over the threshold is then divided by 2. And as you increase that number, it gets more and more compressed until you get to infinity. That signal is completely squashed. And sometimes that's desired if you really want that hard smacking Amen sound. Now, when we smash that signal, it does get a bit loud, so we're just going to adjust the volume here. Now, the next parameter I like to adjust is the attack, and that's how fast the compressor gets triggered. So the faster the attack, the more the transients get compressed. So let me just dial the attack all the way to 0.01 millisecond. You notice how squashed that Amen sounds? And again, that's sometimes is desired depending on the track. So we're just going to adjust the attack as we listen to the Amen. And notice how the transients change as I increase the attack. Notice it gets more punchy as the attack goes up to around 30 milliseconds or so. Now we're going to address the threshold even further down so you can hear the compression a little more pronouncedly. So that's with no attack. And we're going to increase the attack. Now the release is how quickly the compressor gets reset to the non-compressed signal. So when release is all the way to 1 millisecond, pretty much all your signal is getting compressed. As we increase the release, it gives time for the compressor to breathe and reset to the non-compressed setting. And then knee is just how smooth your compressor is from the compressed to non-compressed signal. So the larger the number, the smoother your compressor sounds. Usually 6 is fine. Now the makeup is just when you don't have makeup on, and some compressors do not have makeup. Essentially what the makeup does is it adjusts the overall output after it gets compressed. So everything hits at 0 dB. But sometimes that's too loud, so you don't necessarily need the makeup on. You can adjust the output manually. And that's fine too. And then the one final setting I like to play with is changing from peak, which means that your compressor responds to the quick peaks and attacks or transients of your drums, or the RMS, where your compressor responds to more of the average volume level of your drum track. And depending on your track, either or is desirable. Alright, so there you have it. I showed you guys some more parameters to edit your Amen break. We talked about adjusting the sustain and decay of your drum rack so you get a more tighter Amen. And then we applied compression to further adjust the character profile of your Amen break. So we're getting a little more advanced now, and it's going to take some time to master these processes, and I encourage you to keep at it until you get it. And once you get it, you're on your way to mastering getting your sound the way you want it to sound. So definitely keep practicing, and we'll probably work on even more advanced tricks in future videos on the Amen break. But until then, keep at it, and we'll see you at the next video.